Title abandoned, at a grave found in a crowd. I saw my daughter collapse in a hotel lobby. Except according to the headstone with my name on it, I had died 9 years ago. If your child looked up at you from a stranger's arms, would you claim her or keep walking? What I did next looked heartless from the outside, but it was the only way to pull the truth into the light. My name is Ashley Mitchell. Some of you know me as Dr. Kira, the woman people call when the answer is supposed to be no. The suit, the braids with gold beads, the headlines about miracles. That's the shiny version, the one that's easy to retell. The real story starts colder in a basement with chains, a concrete floor, and the sound your heart makes when people who should love you lock the door and turn off the light. I was 23, 7 months pregnant, drugged at my own engagement party by my stepsister Monica. Sugar voice, acid smile. She told me to find room 37, said someone there could help me ride out the dizziness. The numbers blurred. The hallway slid sideways. I stumbled into the wrong door, and my life cracked like glass. The next morning I woke up alone, shame loud in my bones, photos of me in that hotel room, splashed across screens by breakfast engagement. Gone by lunch, my father Richard, calling me a disgrace by dinner. He didn't send me to a hospital, he sent me to the basement. My stepmother Patricia fed me scraps and stories. She called my unborn baby a bastard. She called me nothing. And when my mother's name came up, she smiled the kind of smile that makes you cold. Convenient accident, she said. That was the first time I understood that family can mean danger. The night I gave birth, there were 2 cries. One thin, one fierce. Twins. Dr. Harris delivered them, and I saw relief in his eyes that didn't match anyone else's. Monica took the small one and disappeared. Whispered she would handle arrangements. Whispered the other was dead. Dead like my future, dead like the girl I used to be. But Dr. Harris didn't leave. He put Wendy in my arms, my silent fighter, and helped me run when no one was looking. I left the house through a side door with a baby, a name that had become a warning, and a promise I swore into the dark. You will not bury me. Fast forward 9 years. London taught me how to make medicine out of ruin, how to read a body like a confession, how to build money into armor. I came home with Wendy's hand in mine, a suitcase of evidence and a face that said, "Do not test me." We checked into the Moo Grand, because if you're going to go to war with a dynasty, you might as well sleep on decent pillows. Tyson, my right hand, had lined up meetings, subpoenas, a whistleblower video from Dr. Harris, and a team of investigators who eat offshore accounts for breakfast. I told myself I was ready. You're never ready. Here's the part I didn't witness with my own eyes, but I know it by heart, because Wendy reenacts it with wild hands every time. She washed her hands in the hotel bathroom, looked up, and saw herself at the other sink. Not a look-alike, not a cousin, a mirror that moved without her. Same face, same eyes, same brown skin, only this girl's hair was in ponytails, and her light looked dim, like someone had turned the rheostat down too far. They circled like cats, they smiled like secrets, and they asked the only question that made sense. Are you my twin sister? Her name was Zoe. Of course it was. The missing piece finally saying hello. Minutes later, fate elbowed me. I heard a man shout for a doctor, heard the crowd gasp the way crowds do, felt my feet move before my brain caught up. And there she was. The other half of Wendy's face going limp in a stranger's arms, a room tilting, time slowing, instinct roaring. Kneel, breathe, hands here, voice steady. I introduced myself, Ashley Mitchell, and watched the man's eyes widen like he'd seen a ghost walk out of a grave. Gerald Lawson. In magazines, he's the boy genius who grew into a shark in a tailored suit. In that moment, he was just a father drowning on dry land. I performed calm while my body tried not to scream. Vitals questions quick scan. The things doctors do when the world starts to blur. Fainting spells, no clear diagnosis, someone had said genetic, because when a case won't sit still long enough to understand it, people reach for labels that sound final. But I saw other things. Nail beds that told a different story, a dullness to the skin you cannot lotion away, a thinness at the edges like a body that's been treading water too long. Little clues mean little footprints. I knew where they led. Then came the moment that makes strangers love me or hate me. I told Gerald I could help his daughter and asked for 30% of Mitchell Group shares in exchange. The room pulled in a breath. He thought I was extorting him with a child's life. Maybe you would too. Do you think that's fair after what I've told you so far? If it were you, what would you have done? Hear me. It wasn't about cash, it was power. My mother built that company, Richard and Patricia stole it, and I needed leverage strong enough to pry open 9 years of lies. Power protects children better than promises. He didn't throw me out. He said proof first, contract later, eyes locked with mine like he recognized a language he didn't know he could speak. I stood up because if I stayed another second, I was going to cry in front of cameras, and I will bleed in public if I have to, but I won't sob in someone else's lobby. In the elevator, Tyson handed me a handkerchief. It's her, I said, the words scraping their way out. It's my baby. Yeah, that happened. That night, while I told Wendy that the tired girl she met was her twin, Gerald, was carving poison out of his own house. He went home to Monica playing domestic goddess in a red dress, and he told her what he'd seen. She tried the same old script, lies, distractions, concern, as performance art. He saw through it and told her to leave security standing by because when a man decides to protect his child, furniture moves. He found out what Zoe hadn't told him, because fear is a gag in a child's mouth. The yelling when nobody was looking, the names that stick like burrs, the strawberries she forced on a girl who's allergic, calling the reaction drama. Monsters don't all live under beds. Some smell like perfume. The next morning I walked into his office with Wendy's hand in mine and a carry case full of medicine and tools. Wendy did what Wendy does, marched straight up, stuck out her hand and said, "Hi, Daddy. I've wanted to meet you my whole life." Gerald didn't shake her hand. He pulled her into a hug, like he was afraid she would disappear if he didn't hold on tight. I won't pretend my eyes were dry. They weren't. We sat across from each other like adversaries who wanted to be allies. No lawyers yet, no theater, just two people who had been lied to in different rooms of the same house. We named the ugliest parts first. We were both drugged that night, both shoved into a setup we never agreed to, both left with memories that felt like fog. You want to judge the way a child was conceived. I get it. I have judged myself every sleepless 3 a.m. for 9 years. But then we did the only thing that ever moves a story forward. We looked at the next right thing. I showed him what I'd pulled from Zoe's chart the night before. Markers that didn't line up with the genetic condition patterns that look like someone feeding a body tiny doses of poison for a long time. Combine that with the malnutrition signs. The picture snapped into focus. Someone had been making Zoe sick. I didn't say Monica's name yet. I didn't have to. You could hear it sitting there between us the way thunder sits in the room before it speaks. Twist. Remember the shares I demanded in the lobby? Gerald opened a folder and slid it across the desk. Already signed, no conditions, 30% transferred to me. He called it justice, a down payment on 9 years of parenthood he got to keep while I learned to mother in exile. I told him I didn't want pity. He said it wasn't pity, it was partnership. Pattern interrupt. I laughed short and sharp, then I shook his hand. It felt like setting down a weapon I'd been sleeping with. From that moment, we moved like people who know the clock is loud. Tyson coordinated with the police with Dr. Harris for a video deposition, with a forensic accountant who can read laundered money the way I read lab results. I started Zoe's treatment. Gentle detox, targeted nutrition, steady hands, no promises I couldn't keep. Within days, a little color came back, a little bounce, the kind of small wins that make you sit in your car after an appointment and cry where no one can see you. The girls braided each other's hair, made paper crowns, argued about which purple dress looked more royal, then fell asleep on each other's shoulders, like they'd been practicing all their lives. Middle of the week, Gerald asked me what happens after the arrests, after the lawyers, after the microphones. I gave him practical answers, splitting school schedules, medical updates, boring things that make families work. We both heard the other question humming underneath. Not yet, I told myself. First justice, then maybe the rest. Stick around, because what happened next will blow your mind. We chose our battlefield carefully. The Mitchells' favorite ballroom chandeliers swinging smugly string quartet small talk that smells like money. Richard shaking hands like a politician who thinks he can charm gravity, Patricia in pearls, pretending innocence, Monica in red, waiting to pounce. We arrived in a limo because symbols matter, stepped onto the carpet, with the twins holding hands, because truth deserves a spotlight, not a whisper. Cameras flashed, questions flew, we kept walking. On stage, Gerald took the mic and told the room a story that had been a secret too long. The drugging. The fake grave with my name. The baby presented to him as a gift from a dying sister-in-law. He said twins out loud, and the room made that sound crowds make when they realize the plot is uglier than they thought. I played Dr. Harris's video. Clean, steady testimony about a secret delivery, one baby stolen by Monica, one declared dead to break me, his choice to smuggle me out, because he believed they would finish what they started if I stayed. People like a scandal until it becomes evidence. Patricia panicked and said the quiet thing out loud, that my mother had to be dealt with. Richard tried to label me unstable, tried to call the truth a conspiracy, tried to make the floor stop moving by yelling at it. The officers we had briefed stepped forward and did their work. The click of handcuffs on a wrist is not a delicate noise. Monica screamed it wasn't over, and I told her softly, "For you it is." After the noise, a reporter pushed through and asked if Gerald and I were together. Everyone wants the part where love fixes the plot holes. I said we were building something that looked like honesty. Slow, careful, let the girls set the pace. He squeezed my hand. That squeeze felt like a future knocking, asking if we might want to open the door when we're ready. There's a scene you didn't see on camera. Me sitting on a couch with Zoe's head in my lap, telling her body we would be gentle now, telling her it wasn't her fault, telling her that sometimes adults break and kids pay the invoice, but not anymore, not in this house. Wendy sprawled on the other couch, glitter from a paper crown in her hair, Tyson sending me one-line updates like a metronome. Warrants served, accounts frozen, board vote scheduled. Now the messy part. The ethics. A lot of you are already typing. Ashley, how could you ask for shares in a lobby with a sick child watching? Ashley, why go public when you could have done it quietly? Ashley, how do you sit across from a man tied to your worst night and make him a partner? Fair questions. Here's my answer. Power protects children better than promises, silence protects abusers better than the law. And partnership is what you build when the people who stole your first 9 years aren't going to get your next 9. You know what I mean. We filed complaints against doctors who stamped genetic on a file and stopped looking, not to ruin them, but to wake them up. We met with school staff and asked why 2 fainting episodes didn't trigger real questions. Systems fail quietly. I want them to fail loudly next time so someone fixes the leak before a kid goes under. Some of you will say I should forgive. Some of you will say forgiveness is the only way out. I don't know about always. Here's the controversial truth. I haven't forgiven Richard or Patricia or Monica. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Forgiveness isn't a trophy you hand out at the end of trial day. It's a jacket you grow into when winter ends. Right now, I'm still living in the season they built. I'm warm, I'm safe, I'm dancing in a kitchen between 2 girls in purple dresses and a man who knows how to apologize without making it a speech. But I'm not handing out grace to prove I'm noble. Does that make me small or honest? You tell me. 1 month into treatment, Zoe jogged down the hallway and back without grabbing the wall. She stopped shocked, then laughed like she'd found money in an old coat. I cried. 6 months in her labs came back clean, and the twins wore their paper crowns to breakfast like it was a national holiday. We went to a different kind of gala after that one that actually raised money for sick kids instead of laundering reputations. On the carpet, a journalist asked what I'd tell women who feel buried. I said document everything, tell one person who believes you give your anger a job that makes your kids safer, not smaller. So here's where I leave it with you. Was I wrong to demand leverage before I laid out the cure, knowing I would have helped her anyway, but needing him to understand the stakes? Do you think public exposure has a place when private conversations have failed for years? If it were you, what would you have done? Not the perfect version of you, the real you with a mortgage and a bruised heart, and a child who needs you to win. Do you think forgiveness is a duty or a gift? Do you think money is a shield or a weapon or both? I'm Ashley. I was buried in a basement and resurrected in a lobby, and somewhere in the middle I learned this. Heroes aren't the ones who never get hurt. They're the ones who refuse to become what hurt them. My father hid his crimes behind money. I used money to bring them out. My stepmother used silence like a blade. I used a microphone. Monica used love as a leash. We taught our daughters that love is a key. Now it's your turn. Drop your take in the comments. Argue with me respectfully. Tell me where you think I crossed a line. Tell me where you think I didn't push hard enough. And if this hit close to home, share your story, because someone is reading at 3 a.m. looking for a reason to try one more time. If this moved you, hit like, subscribe for more messy human stories that don't fit in neat boxes, and share this with the one friend who needs proof that buried doesn't mean gone. We're still here, and we're building something worth staying for.